You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
Hey guys, welcome back. You're listening to the second part of last week's episode. Let's jump back in.
I tend to ask people about hiring, and I want to ask you about hiring because you've mentioned forensic accounting, you've mentioned engineers, right? Not to mention the work that you do and just insurance in general, right? We are talking about a highly analytical field. So when you are trying to hire for positions at All City Adjusting, do you have a process for, are you like filtering for a certain way of seeing the world? Is it all about their past experience? How do you think about the hiring process? We'll just keep it as broad as possible.
I like that question. For me, I always look at it. I always look at a person. I always judge them by what have they done previously, their kind of attitude. I'm not looking at education in terms of, did they go to Harvard? Did they study for 10 years? I could care less about all that, really. What I'm looking at is for that drive. Do they have the drive that we have here, that I have personally, that you're going to come in early? If you have to stay longer, you're going to stay longer. Like, you're going to come here and get your crap done. Like, you're going to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Like, do you have that motivation to work? Because if I could feel, and again, we've gone through people where we hired people, they came in and it's kind of like, they're here just to do their job and they leave, like they don't want to do anything extra. When you're a small business, you can't afford those people because you're trying to grow. So you really need people that are there on the same, like pushing in the same direction as you. So our process, there's not a technical that we have, but we do go through. I have another person in the office that interviews, and then I'll do a second interview, and then we'll kind of talk together about what we like, what we don't like about that person.
Is there something so looking for drive makes a lot of sense to me. You said growth is you mentioned it a bunch of times. It's kind of inherent to your view of the company, what you're trying to do, right? It's not just we want to get a paycheck and be comfortable, and you're really trying to do something on a big scale. So it makes sense. You need people who are driven to do that. Is there something that you're listening for in the interview to get a sense of that? Because I'll just be honest. The reason I always ask is historically, I think hiring has been something I've struggled with, both hiring and firing, right? Terrible.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
So one of my questions is people will often say things in interviews that
correct,
sound good, and then it doesn't work out. I'm like, well, remember when you said, then you're like, yeah, I was just saying that. I was like, oh, okay. So what do you listen to? How do you listen for that? Or is it you listen as best you can, but then it's really about that first 3 months. That's where you're looking. How do you figure?
That's exactly it, right? So you can only feel so much of a person during an interview because they're going to tell you everything you want to hear. Are you good with computers? Great. Are you good with Microsoft Word? Freaking awesome. Excel? Perfect.
Yeah.
Right?
Every resume I've ever done, I've always been amazing in Microsoft Word. So good.
And everything. I know. So then we hire someone, and then I give them a MacBook, and they're standing in front of the computer. And they're like, I'm like, can you Google this? And they can't find the internet. So I'm like, okay. Now I remember that interview when you said you were so great at all computer things. So no, honestly, it's the first 3 months. And I think one of my faults, like you were saying, is firing people, right? Yeah. Once you hire someone, you get close to them, it's hard to let someone go. And sometimes you create a friendship and you like that person, so you don't want to let them go because you like them. So then it turns to you want to do it earlier. I'm learning that the earlier you let someone go, the better, right? The longer you keep it, and then it's more you get attached. And those flaws that they have in that drive, it's not going to change. I look back at the people we hired that we let go, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what? Those people, after the first week, we already that person's not going to work out. And we kept them for extra weeks and months. You could tell.
I think that's such a good point that you so often have that sense very early in the process. But it's I don't know about you. With me, what happens is I'm like, well, I can fix them. Right. I'm like, I just need coaching. They just need training. They just need, because I feel like I said, I'm pretty driven. I like to learn. I'm all about growth. So it's I'm like, I could expand in this role. So surely they can if I just like water the plant enough. You know what I mean? Like it's going to work out. But I think you're right. A lot of times your gut feeling early ends up being very correct.
Your gut is almost always right, I feel like. And for us, we're small businesses. So we can't just hire people and just let them come in here, do a couple of things and go home. You're a small business, you're growing something. You want them to have the same drive. And that's why, like for me, in our company, I always tell, anyone that works here is you work your butt off. You work here and you work it. Like I look at that and I'm like, okay, I'll make sure to take care of you. Like I will take care of anyone that's going to do extra, that's going to do more, that wants to work. Because I always feel like there was times where I probably wouldn't have started a business if people actually looked at me and how hard I worked and actually took notice and said, man, let me take care of that guy because that guy's busting his ass. But no one ever said, they just blew me off. So I was like, they don't care. I'll just go do my own thing. So now I'm always thinking in the back of my mind, like, hey, if someone does work, like I'm going to take care of that person because I know how hard it is to find someone good. And I know how hard it is to find someone good that actually cares as much as you do.
Yeah. And people want to feel appreciated, right? I mean, it's
100%.
So, okay. So let's talk about a little bit. You're in 31 states. You're this type of growing team. What is the goal for you now? I think a lot of people would be like, well, I did it. I win. Yeah. I win the business. You know what I mean? But like you said, being driven, being ambitious, kind of core to who you are. I'm imagining that if there was no challenge left, you would get bored pretty quickly. So what is next for you and for All City? Like when you look out there and you're like, what is the next big thing that you want to achieve or change or accomplish?
No, we have huge goals. I mean, I feel like we're just starting out. Like I tell everyone here, like we're just scratching the surface. We're just literally, we're still in an infancy stage. Like we're just starting and we're way ahead of the curve on everything. Our goal and the company goal is not only to grow with claims, but get so many leads where we can give out leads, right? Help other PAs in the industry and help other restoration companies, educational platform. We're working on our own CRM system for us and then to provide to other people. So there's so many different avenues, and being in this industry for so long and seeing it change, trying to be an all-in-one shop and provide all these services and create a revenue stream, not just from adjusting, but from different things, right? Because most PAs a lot of them are small, mom and pop. There's only so many large companies. So we want to be able to assist smaller claims, larger claims. And if we can't, give out and help the other PAs or other people, because it's hard coming into this industry.
Yeah. There's
no Angie's List or other services that gives you leads that people call you when they have a fight. Like no one knows about you. So it's hard to get your name out there. We put a lot of money into advertising and marketing and building a brand. And we keep putting a lot of money that a lot of people are scared to invest and risk it. And we've done it and it's paid off. So that's why we're, this podcast thing that we're sitting on discussing right now, right? This is a big investment for us. And it's something that I consider like, hey, being on this many podcasts and it's an investment, is it going to pay off? And I looked at it as it's a big risk. But if you or one of your listeners calls me and has a claim, well, that my investment pays off. And now I've been featured the risk to reward, like it's worth it. Why not? Right. If I don't try it, then how would I know if it works or not? That's kind of,
Well, I'll say too, having done this for so long and also I go on a ton of podcasts, kind of going on podcasts like the only marketing I do at this point. That's not true. I mean, we also advertise, but that I do personally.
Yeah.
And I think in your industry is the same as my industry. Very few people are the face of the thing. It's kind of anonymous and there just aren't a lot of people who are putting themselves out there and talking about what they do. You don't have to do anything too crazy. It's just talk about what you do and make it approachable. And like for someone like me, right? Like, I kind of know what an adjuster is. I didn't really know what a public adjuster was, right? So you're filling me in and in the process filling everyone in. That stuff has massive downstream implications that aren't always obvious in the short term, right? So I think you're great in terms of you're charismatic. You know how to talk about what you do. You're fun to talk to. Like so many people I talk to where I'm like, yeah, this is a great conversation. And they're like a wet dish rag the whole time, and I'm like, having a personality is the big force multiplier, So I think that's going to be awesome.
Want to find motivated seller leads online, but don't know where to start? Download our free Motivated Seller Keyword Report today. AdWords nerds have spent over $5 million this year researching the most profitable keywords for finding motivated seller leads. And you can grab these exact keywords when you download our report at www.adwordsnerds.com/keywords.
I want to talk about the website real quick, and then I want to ask about the future of your industry. But let's talk about this real quick. So on allcityadjusting.com, because you talked about, hey, somebody reaches out to me, that you can help them out. You guys have a free claim review. It's actually the biggest button on the website. If you go to allcityadjusting.com, you will see this big button that says free claim review. We were talking about this before we hit record. Can you walk people through this tool and what it does? Because I think it's really awesome.
Yeah. So in that tool, when you click it, you input your information, and it kind of takes you through a questionnaire and asks you about your claim, the size of your claim, what happened, when did it happen, who the adjusters, asks you claims. So then all that documents, and then you can upload the documents of the claim. Then that whole claim file gets sent to our internal office, our internal area. And then we're able, one of the PAs reviews the claim, then contacts the person that filed everything. And then we can kind of work through it and say, okay, yeah, you have a claim here. Hey, we can help, or maybe we don't have to intervene. Maybe you can finish this part of this claim yourself, right? But it streamlines. No one has to call and wait in line. Even though when people call us, we always answer. That's one thing we like. It's rare that we won't answer a phone, that the phone's line is busy. But that claim review just kind of streamlines everything. We're not saying, hey, send us this, send us this. We can look over everything and advise that person if there's something we can help, or there's anyone else that we can recommend to help them. So
if someone's got something that they're thinking about, they've got a claim already, or they're thinking about doing
Correct.
it, you can just go to allcityadjusting.com. Like I said, it's the tool is awesome. And like you said, if you're somebody like me, you're like, I don't love being on the phone or whatever, I just kind of want to do it online real quick, walks you through all the steps. Super, super cool. Or like you said, just call the office. And I would recommend let me ask you this question. Is a good way to.
And that's for someone that's obviously had a claim already. Like they filed a claim and they've been now they're starting to get issues, right? Again, as we said before, you want to call as soon as possible. You don't even want to get to this tool. You want to get ahead of this and then have us or have another PA right from the beginning. But again, if that doesn't happen, that's kind of where people start. That's a good way when you're already middle of the claim.
Yeah. And you guys do a ton of real estate. I know that you've done some real estate investing as well. Yeah. So if people are listening to this and it's like one of those things, just like you said, it's like, if you think you might need it, just go ahead and send the email. There's no harm, no foul, but it's something that you want. It's like I had someone recently tell me, they're like, hey, you should get, like a home equity loan, a line of home equity, loan line of credit or something like that. And I was like, well, I don't really need it. And he was like, that's the whole point. You get it when you don't need it. Yeah. Because when you need it, you can't get it. And I was like, oh, okay.
We've had ours for 3 years. Didn't touch it. And we have it. We're like, should we do something with it? Should we buy something with it? But we have it. Like sometimes I forget that we have it. But again, we were told, like my good buddy who's give us on loans, like, hey, get this the home equity. I'm like, why? We don't need it. He's like, that's just exactly like you said. Well, that's the perfect reason you don't need it. And now it's sitting there, and it's kind of like, hey, if we did find an investment, the money's there. Right? Yeah, extra money to do something else.
Nice to know you have it, right? Nice to know you have it. So let me ask you, as we kind of wrap this up, and we're coming up on time, I don't want to keep you super long, but I want to ask about your industry, the insurance industry generally, and where you think it's headed. I think there is a lot of disruption across industries right now. I was joking about AI before we got started. I think a lot of people are kind of worried about the intersection between AI and what they do. I also know that insurance generally, at least my perception of the insurance industry in the States, is that public perception of the insurance industry is fairly negative. There's like a lot of changes happening in the industry. You as an insider, what is your take on what the next 5 to 10 years look like? Is there going to be a lot of disruption in insurance? Am I overblowing things? I'm sure there's a million things I don't even know to think about. What's your take on kind of where insurance is going generally?
Yeah, I think AI is going to disturb every industry. I don't see how it doesn't. It's going to disturb the insurance industry. It already is. Whether it's selling new policies, I see with when you as a homeowner or as an insured, you can go buy your own policy without an agent, without knowing anything about insurance. You can go buy a policy. You don't even know what you're buying. There's no agent there. That's kind of scary, but it's happening. That's all AI. Same thing with claims. It's only a matter of, like, we're already measuring homes with cameras, right? We're putting a camera inside a house and we get the entire measurement. We used to measure by tape. Then we had lasers. Now we have one machine that takes 10 minutes to measure an entire house. Like, man, so soon you're going to measure and the AI is going to write an estimate really quick based on what it sees through the camera. I mean, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
So I think and then again, that just makes it better for us. And I think if you're a good PA and you're growing your firm, that's good because it's going to make, again, they're just trying to offer a quick settlement. If you accept it, great. Only 3% of people actually fight their claim. They don't care about it. So it's a very small amount. So, hey, if maybe they start doing and having AI write estimates, well, let's say 50% accept settlement and the other 50 don't. The 50 that did, they took the lower settlement, they're done.
Yeah. Do you think so few people fight their settlements because they're really happy with it or just because they don't even know that they can or how they
don't know any better? And the majority of claims are with homeowners. And you have to think about it. When you have kids, you have kids. If your house flooded from the third floor all the way down, you know, and I tell you, hey, you're way underpaid. You like at this point, the guy said he could do it. I don't give a crap.
Right.
I want to be back in my house. My kids are at the school. Like it's my son's last year. And that's why our focus has been majority our investors, our landlords, our management companies, because for them, whether that insured is there or not, or the renter is there or not, the tenant, they're going to get loss of income. So we can take that claim and now really work it and fairly negotiate and fairly settle it. And they're still going to get compensated for that loss of rent. And then they still have time to rebuild. And usually that loss of rent, we get to stretch out. So they're usually way ahead anyways.
I mean, it's so fascinating because, I mean, your industry is this weird mix of voluntary and involuntary and like others like.
It is funny. There's a lot of secretive, the old PAs like, oh, don't say this. It's very like down low. And
wow.
it's weird. It's becoming more and more known about industry, I think. And then there's that big, oh, you don't need most adjusters or PAs, private adjusters are storm chasers. Well, yeah, there's a lot of storm chasers. I can't speak for every PA. There's bad PAs out there, and then there's good ones. There's good investors and bad investors, good attorneys, bad attorneys. Every field I've been into that I've tried to hire, I found bad and good.
Yeah. It all depends on who you choose.
Correct.
And if you are listening to this and you're a real estate investor, All City Adjusting is the website. So allcityadjusting.com. We've been talking to Andy Gurczak. Andy, thank you so much for being here, man. This was a blast. You're awesome. And I really appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I could probably go on for like another 2 hours with you. So
yeah, I just appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with everybody. Oh, before we bounce, if people want to follow up with you online, we've talked about the website. Anywhere else that you want people to catch up with you?
For your listeners, I'm going to leave them right now. Again, I'm still able to take calls and messages from investors. I'll leave them my number. If someone wants to reach out, call or text, hey, we have a claim, or even if they want to review a policy, hey, can you look at our policy? Do we have the right insurance? Reach out to me. It's 708-655-4186. They can call me directly and I'll be able to help with any way I can.
Wow. Okay. So that is, first of all, that is truly amazing.
As long as I can. Eventually it's going to happen where that number, right now that number works. Eventually
we're going to post this on the internet. You're going to get every weird robocall. I might, we'll figure out a way to kind of obscure that a little bit.
If I get any prank calls, I know it's you, so don't worry.
Yeah, okay. Andy Gurczak from allcityadjusting.com. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And that is it. That's it for our interview this week. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Andy. I know I certainly did. Go check him out over at allcityadjusting.com. And look, if you could leave us a review, if you listen to this podcast, we would really appreciate it. It's available anywhere you get your podcasts, and we read every single one. So thank you so much for being here every week. It means the world to me, and I will be talking to you very soon. Cheers.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.